Hi and welcome to episode 2 of the Ski Instructor Podcast. My name's Dave Burrows. I'm the director and owner of Snowpro Ski School, a ski school based here in the Port de Soleil. This week my interview is with Jaz Lamb. Jaz Lamb is, a lot of you may know, he's the director of BASI Ski School in Morzine, and he also heads up the national education team for BASI, the British Association of Ski Instructors. He's also been a BASI trainer in the past. I think he still is a current BASI trainer, and has previously been Alpine director, so he's involved in the board level there. So he's got a lot to say from a BASI perspective, and a lot of people who know Jaz won't have heard maybe this side of what he's got to say. It's a very interesting interview and quite candid from a Jaz point of view. I think it's certainly the most open that I've seen him for a while. So it's a very interesting interview. I hope you all enjoy listening to it. And without further ado, here we go. All right, here I am with Jaz Lamb, BASI guru, big boss man of BASI Morzine, and various other bits and pieces. Welcome, Jaz. Welcome to the podcast.
It's an honour to be able to talk to you, Dave.
Well, I'm here in Jaz's beautiful house in Libio. It's a rambling old French farmhouse, I guess, once upon a time.
Yeah.
And just recounting tales of my day, which involved being blown off the hill in Le Creuset, which kind of brings me neatly into what I felt that today was. I've never skied in Scotland myself. Yeah. But so Scotland, back in the day, I remember you telling me, tales, that this is kind of where you came up. This is where you spent your formative years of ski instruction. Is that fair to say? Yeah,
very much. So I started teaching in 1984. I'd done a little bit of skiing on the dry slopes around Yorkshire, Harrogate, some of the racing around the summer leagues there and stuff like that. But then first got involved with BASI and went to work up in Glenshee. Yeah. I actually had I was offered a job by Caird Sports, and they gave me the option of going to Aviemore or to Glenshee, and I chose Glenshee. It was somewhere that I hadn't skied before, but at the time they had a lot of cool stuff going on. They had mogul competitions that were running there fairly regularly. They had Smirnoff sponsored speed ski sprints that were going to Glenshee, so I thought that'd be a great place to go and start working.
When was this? Because I know that there was a huge boom in Scottish skiing, and they used to bus people up back in the day. I remember seeing videos and things of this, and I'm obviously never wasn't around at that point, but
so that it was massive. I think it's fair to say that it was pretty much around the heyday of Scottish skiing that it had been growing. The resorts had becoming more established through the 60s, 70s, but that was the early, 84 that I started up there. And we were getting coach loads of people. We had a regular contract with Staffordshire Council when they were sending a bus load of kids up every week up into Scotland. So it was the days when our ski school, we had sort of 10, 12 instructors there full time, and in Glenshee there was sort of 3 other schools that were there full time. So it was a pretty vibrant place to be based. And my options, the way I saw it, as I was wanting to come through the BASI system and make a long-term career out of it, it was very much about where was the places that I could go and develop my skills, gain the experience, but also gain the training and have that input that was going to allow me to progress through the system. And it was pretty much Scotland that you had the opportunities to do that in those days.
There wasn't the broader, because we were speaking to Phil last time.
Yeah.
And Phil was talking about the early 90s and the Wild West days of France, in essence.
Yeah, very much.
But I guess the formative years of the British Association of Ski Instructors and various other stuff was all done in Scotland. Back in the 80s.
Yeah, totally. And that's something that I'm really quite passionate about as far as my connection with BASI and the years that I've done as a trainer. Is that helping people understand the shift that's happened, because it's been massive that when I came through the system, the options were to go and teach in Scotland, and the only choice was which school, which resort you pretty much had. That was the way I saw it. But now, for people that are coming through with a level 2, they're going off work in Japan, Argentina, Chile, all around the world, and it's amazing to see that change.
There's a whole generation of instructors, isn't there, that's never skied in Scotland.
I know, and I do find,
I mean, myself included. I put my hand up there.
Well, in the olden days when I came through the system as well, it was very much that the old grade 1 was where the ISIA stamp was awarded, and part of the rulings was that you had to do your ISIA stamp level on home snow. So the old grade 1s always used to be run in Scotland. And those courses, the big spring BASI courses, were just a fantastic event to be at. So there was all the spring vibe and good snow in Scotland. Skiing the gullies, the Keys Gully, the White Lady, with so many good skiers. So the bumps that you had to ski there, it was epic. It was absolutely, it was stunning. Such a good vibe.
While we're on the subject, because you know my journey pretty well and my trials and tribulations with bumps back in the day, learned to love them now. By the way, it's it's just a question of time, isn't it? Your time spent in them.
Yeah, definitely. I always see bumps as that's a pinnacle of skiing. Yeah, so everything that you need everywhere else comes together, and you need all those skills to be able to go and ski the bumps well. There's a degree of accuracy that's required, athleticism, which unfortunately I don't have quite so much of anymore, but it was always a highlight, skiing bumps, and in Scotland it just had some.
Do you think that BASI's is obsession the right word with bumps comes from those days? So the sort of the DNA from all of the trainers and whatnot, and the grade 1 assessments that you were saying back in the day.
Yeah.
I suppose the DNA says that if you can ski bumps, you can really ski, and that has continued through the system because you've got guys like yourself, you've got guys like Charles Lewis, whatever.
Yeah.
They're all pretty proficient bumpers, and you can tell they've spent a lot of time in bumps in the past.
Yeah, I'd take challenge with the obsession, phrasing it as an obsession, but the way you're talking about the DNA, I think that's a really accurate way of describing it. That from Scottish skiing was based around quite narrow runs. So we had there tends to be snow fences either side. That are there to collect the snow that's being transported by the wind. So most of the Scottish snow is transported horizontally on the wind. So the snow fences break it up and it catches the snow.
Okay.
Which does mean that naturally a lot of gully skiing. So a lot of the runs are quite narrow. So there was always a tendency for bumps to develop quite quickly, and it is a major part of Scottish skiing was always skiing bumps, and there's some absolutely epic runs there. The Tiger, the White Lady, as it used to be, the Keys Gully. They got such well skied, well shaped bumps, and that has carried on. And now BASI's running the courses across the rest of the Alps and elsewhere in the world. There's always been that. Connection with being able and value of being able to ski bumps well, that it does bring all the all the fundamental elements that we talk about, all the performance threads that we talk about. There's the mental side, there's the physical side, and there's the technical and the tactical side. And it's a very pure challenge.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I agree with you now. I didn't agree with you back in the day.
Yeah, sometimes it takes people a while to
While we're on this tangent, I remember. So every now and then someone posted some amazing video of what it was like back in the day on those Scottish bump fields, and the bumps look completely different then to what they look like now. And I'm seeing actually. So we both ski. For those of you who don't know, we both ski in the Port de Soleil region, and we often the bumps these days, they're cut off. They've got big traverses in them. Yeah. They're a different shape. They're really tight. And actually, I'm seeing some places. I'm thinking over the back side of the wall on your side, on the French side. There used to be a lovely bumps field down. I can't remember what it's called. It's like the Cubor or something like that. That's been bashed flat now.
Yeah, I think that
they're disappearing.
Yeah, so over in Léger, for example, there's a black run, the Yeti under the roster, and that gets skied really well, gets into a really nice bump field, but then every week, every couple of weeks, they'll piece it and start again. So, I think there is a tendency to get into more piece management and sort of flatten them more regularly than there ever used to be in Scotland. Yeah. But you're right that a lot of there's a lot of runs that are renowned for their bumps that aren't skied very well. And one of the runs around here that most people will have heard of is the Swiss Wall. And personally, I think it's a terrible run to go and ski because it gets skied so badly and the bumps get so chopped off that there's no joy, there's no fun.
Every now and then, as it flattens off.
Yeah, once you get down and
there's a line,
you can find something.
But everything else is a traverse.
The top third is just there's no point trying to ski it. And that was that again. That comes back to the joy in the olden days in Scotland is that there were so many good skiers that were there and just sessioning the same runs that they got skied really well.
Yeah, no, it's good. As an extra aside, I spend my Wednesdays now in the Jura, which is brilliant. I love this little station that I'm skiing all the time. It's in La Dole. So as you go to the airport, you see the big golf ball on the right.
Oh yeah,
the other side of that.
Yeah, no.
And so the week before, every week so far I've been there. It's been a powder day. I don't know how this is happening, but this week finally we got a day when it had all been groomed and everything. But we went up to the only black piece they've got. It's called the Four Walls. And I arrived at the top of this thing thinking, it's going to be like just a steep regular run, but they can't get a piece basher down it.
Right.
The only people that had been there, good skiers. So it had turned into this sort of magical, old school mogul run with perfectly formed moguls with no traverses, no cut-offs. I was like, what?
That's brilliant.
I couldn't believe it. I've never seen anything like it for such a long time, especially around here. Yeah. In Port de Soleil. Yeah. And, so
there are some good ones around here. The back of Montcherie is always that always tends to be skied well. Yeah. Montcherie is such an idyllic mountain that it tends to only be skied by good skiers. It's
a special place.
Yeah, it's a really special place.
Special place. All right. So the reason that I've come here to talk to you, so the tagline of the podcast, interesting and innovative people in the world of ski instruction. The reason I wanted to... Jazz scoffs. The reason that I wanted to talk to you is because you ran, we last saw each other at the conference that you ran.
Yes.
The LEAD conference.
Yeah.
Which attracted a lot of people. You run it biannually.
Yeah.
And this year there were some super interesting speakers. Yeah. I personally got a lot out of the guys who came from Vocal.
Yes. Yeah.
Marker
Dave Sawyer Parker.
That's it. And I also got a lot out of. I thought it was an amazing talk by the pista James.
Yeah. Who
told us what those guys did, and it was just fascinating. I could listen to that guy for another 3 hours.
Yeah. Yeah.
What brought that idea about this conference about, and maybe you can just explain a little bit more about that.
Okay, so some of the background. So as you're saying, this is the second time that we've run the LEAD conference, and the LEAD, we set it up as LEAD, so learn, explore, aspire, and develop. And the idea was an opportunity for snow sport instructors to have some broader input into their professional knowledge, professional situations, and have a chance to bring some interesting people in and share knowledge, share experience for the greater good. And that really came about from our core philosophies that we have since we set up the British Alpine Ski School in Morzine. We've always had a desire to support BASI members. We've always run a professional program that's there to support BASI members in developing themselves personally and progressing through the system. And this then was a natural extension of that we're able to start doing something off snow. And the idea was to do it as a TED talk basis. Okay. So the original idea was to do quite short, sort of 10-15 minute presentations, but we did realise that
in the world of ski instructors nothing lasts 10-15 minutes.
Yeah, but also when we've got really interesting people coming in, then we want to give them enough time to be able to sort of really make it worthwhile and really have the opportunity to hear about what they're saying. And as you say, we've had some great people. We've had Henry from Henry's Avalanche Talks come over and do it. So that he was there as part of the first one. We had John Arnold talking about mindfulness and mindful skiing. And then sort of James from the Avoria Ski Pisteurs. And Dave Sawyer Parker from Volcal. It was great to get him over and have that equipment insight and see where things are going there. And then we've also had, so again, this year we had Leslie Page talking about the research that she's doing as far as the PhD that she's doing in skiing and ski teaching, and where that's taking her and her thinking and research is going. So we've always wanted to sort of be open to new things and being able to go and innovate and set new things up for people. And again, that's a sort of personal aspiration, if you like, as well. So something that I value is being able to be really open and receptive to new ideas, to new thoughts, and that's what keeps me inspired in my ski teaching.
Now that's interesting, because with respect, you've been around a long time.
I've been around a very long time this year,
and
I think that's a fair comment.
I don't want to put words in your mouth necessarily, but I think probably as when we're out there faced with clients, often we're teaching the same thing. Often we teach it in the same way because we know that works and it gets results, and there is something on the other side that says, client is paying you money, therefore we need to be able to teach them how to ski. We're not going to go off into kind of ethereal topics just because that suits us.
Yeah.
So I suppose is what you're trying to do with that conference is to say, okay, well, let's see what else is out there, so that I don't get stuck in my own ways, because that's kind of what I'm trying to do with this podcast.
Yeah,
also.
Yeah, and I think these sort of things are really valuable for the industry, and I think the LEAD conference came about as a means to share that opportunity to people that want to get involved in it. So it's a really interesting point that teaching skiing can be quite almost a one-dimensional thing, that you're going out and doing the same thing, week on, week out, season after season, year after year, sort of stuff. So I was very clear from the outset that to prevent me becoming stale and falling into the trap of just doing the same old stuff. That I wanted to make sure I was in a position, in a community, in an environment where there were people that were going to stimulate me.
Okay.
And I think that came from those first days when I started teaching in Glenshee. And it was probably quite accidental, quite coincidental that I just happened to join the ski school when with a group of people that were quite like-minded. That we sat together having a beer, and one of the first nights that we'd all met, and we're sort of saying, right, what are you wanting to do? And I think pretty much all of us said that we wanted to work through the system and get our grade ones and become trainers.
Okay.
So there was a desire within my peers when I joined the school there that we wanted to get better. And that naturally led to lots of conversations, lots of chatting about skiing, lots of going skiing together, and lots of exploring ideas and challenging ideas. Also very fortunate that my boss at the time was a guy, Jim Bryden, who became a massively influential figure in my life and a massive mentor. Unfortunately, he passed away at a very young age. But I was very fortunate to have his sort of guidance, if you like, in setting up that idea that being around people that were going to help stimulate me and keep me enthused by skiing, keep challenging me was something that I've really valued since then. And in the team that we've got now, we've got an amazing team with Leslie that's doing her PhD research. Ed, who's on one of the trainers that's just finished being a full-time trainer for BASI. Andy Jerram, long-standing trainer. Myself, there's Tom Watts, who has been teaching for a long time and one of the most passionate instructors that you'll ever come across. And then Becky, that you know, Beck's again been a trainer for a long time, snowboard trainer before that. Gordon Howe. We've got Elaine Adam, Elaine Mockery that still comes out. So there's a group of people there that share those same aspirations, that keep wanting to investigate how we can go about being better at what we do.
Isn't there a little bit of so everyone you've mentioned, I know, I say 50 or 60% of them. Isn't there the danger that since they're all sort of British Association instructor trainers, whatever it is, isn't there a danger that your ski school becomes a bit of an echo chamber of the same ideas going round and round? How do you make sure that it's not that?
That it's not just a
regurgitation
of BASI's ideal.
I mean, so you're off to Interski soon. We'll cover that in a minute, and that you'll see, I guess, different national styles of skiing. You'll see different ways of doing things. I mean, we talked earlier about. I've just gone through the Swiss system, and they have a slightly different take on things, but we're all essentially doing the same thing. But how do you? I don't know. I suppose what I'm saying is, if everyone in your organisation is sort of fairly BASI centric, how do you make sure that you're still open to new ideas? Because I think that's quite.
Yeah. I think the characters are the starting point. It's very easy for individuals to become quite locked onto what they know and what they're comfortable with.
I hear that.
And one of the big things that I notice within my own teaching is that there's the times that I'll go out and just do the same old stuff and go through the same spiel that's introducing stuff and what have you. But over the last few years, I've almost made a conscious decision to try and make myself more vulnerable when I'm teaching. And for me, this is one of BASI's teaching philosophies is that whole idea of being learner-led. And I think what I see is I still see a lot of people out there teaching who believe they're being learner-led, but it's still very instructor-led. So it's still the instructor that's making decisions about what we're going to do. The instructors quite often will have those pre-planned, this is the route that I'm going to go down. And what I've been quite consciously trying to do is spend a lot more time talking to not just talking to the clients, but listening to the clients' answers in more detail, watching their skiing in more detail, and hooking those things up to really understand what they're wanting to do. And that means that if you like, yesterday I was out with a couple of folk, and just running a couple of hours private lesson, and over the course of the first 2 runs, I still don't know where that session is going to go yet. I don't know what the content is going to be that's going to be that really specific, valuable priority points for those clients just yet. So that, as the instructor, that can be quite unsettling.
And that's where you feel that vulnerability.
Exactly, it's that vulnerability. I'm getting lots of information from the clients that I'm processing, but I still don't know what I'm going to do just yet.
It's interesting that, because there's a commercial pressure coming the other way, isn't there? We just talked about it a second ago. So these guys have paid, whatever the rate is, right?
Yeah.
And they're probably expecting, maybe they're not, maybe they are, maybe they're not, depending on their expectations according to maybe your marketing or whatever. They might be expecting you from the get-go, be like, okay, we're going to be doing this, going to be doing this. What they're probably not expecting is you be like, okay, yeah.
So I think there is a big part of, I think we are finding that there are a number of clients that will come along, and they'll get in front of any, let's say, BASI qualified instructor from the area around here, and go away having their expectations exceeded.
I hear that a lot.
So
that's the
for a lot of
to this organisation.
And it's also, I think there's the other side is that there is this hangover of an expectation from a traditional Alpine ski school that's going to be quite a low expectation that they have. So therefore, anyone that's doing anything above that, they're going, oh my God, this is amazing. For me, that's not really enough. And for me, to keep motivated and engaged in teaching skiing, it really is genuinely being learner-led. And really finding out the details, and part of that is educating the clients and saying to them, this is how I'm going to approach the session. We're going to find out exactly what it is that's going to make the most valuable difference for you, the most significant difference, and that's how you're going to get value out of the session. So there is that period of time where I'm processing the information that I'm getting from the clients, and then at the same time figuring out what it is that I'm actually going to work on, but then also the next point that I think is the interesting one as well is not just what the aspect of that's going to that key priority point that's going to help their performance develop. The interesting bit is then, how am I going to present that in a way that's going to stick with them, that they're going to be able to take ownership of it, and at the end of the session be able to continue that development.
It takes a bit of bravery, that, because it, like I say, it can take time to formulate that in your mind.
Yes.
To work out what the key issues are, and
there is always that pressure. I've talked to other
yeah.
instructors about this quite a few times. Is that there's always the pressure to go out, in particular when clients are paying a lot of money, to go out and deliver straight away.
Yeah.
And actually having that confidence to step back, take the time to find out exactly what the nugget is that's going to make the biggest difference, and then take the time to present that in a way that the clients are really going to take ownership of it and be able to take it away with them. That's what's really giving the clients the value.
The thing that jumps into my mind when we talk about that is when we talk about, so I coach football in the summer too, we talk about the bravery of being on the ball, wanting the ball all the time. and having the guts to want the ball even when you're not playing very well, or you're trying to make something happen.
Yeah.
It won't always work, and to be there and have potential failure.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the things is that this is an aspiration. It's something that I will endeavour to do in every session, and because every client is different, their needs are different, the way that they're going to communicate and receive information is different. It does become a really unique session if you can go down that route. But there's also the times that the clients aren't really not that they're not receptive, but you're not clicking on that same level to achieve that.
Yes.
So you've also then got to have that confidence that even if I'm not able to build that rapport or get that real link with the client where it becomes that genuine relationship that can allow really deep coaching to take place, then you can still deliver a session that's going to be above their expectation.
Yeah. Not everyone is ready for that.
No.
Is ready for that kind of sort of deeper session.
No, and there's a lot of consolidation of everything that has to go on. And when I look back at the knowledge experience I had when I come out of the old grade 1, the level 4, and even when I started teaching as a trainer, when I look at the knowledge that I've gained since then, it does make me think that actually, when you're coming out of a system like that, you've gone through the level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, that there's a vast amount of information that you've learned. All that professional knowledge is really quite deep, but taking the time to then go and consolidate it, and that's when the real depth and that real opportunity comes in to take you from a highly qualified instructor to a really knowledgeable, experienced instructor that's got a deep skill set.
I think that a lot of that has got to come from within too, though. I think because I get the sensation sometimes when I wander around the mountain with clients and I see people doing their thing. They qualify, they think they know it all. And that's where it stops for them. So there's no kind of continuation of journey. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's no one kind of thinking deeper about it. Now, it might just be that that's the way they're programmed and that's how they are. And they don't want it, it stops and ends there and they come up and they do their lesson and that's that. And probably, maybe they make a bunch of money in the season, they spend the rest of the year on the beach or something. Yeah,
there's a lot of that goes on. And one of the qualities that I value most in people is that idea of humility. And that idea that I don't know everything, that there is something else to be learned. I can continue to get better. And it's that I believe is the catalyst, or it's that character trait that allows people to really genuinely become the excellent instructors.
Do you seek that in the people that you search for?
I do now, yeah.
Okay. Because
I'd much rather have a smaller team of people that have got that character trait and that are going to fit into the group of people that we've got working with us, who are prepared to share ideas, who are prepared to sit down and say, do you know what? I struggle with this bit. How can I learn from? How do you do this? How can I learn from you?
That's what I
to get
seek
me
in
better?
my staff, my guys, because our training sessions are essentially they're not just me standing in front of the group, so I know so much, right, and you get bored of your own voice. But our training sessions are deliberately designed as an idea swap.
Yeah.
So what I know is not what you know.
Yeah.
And how I deliver it is not how you deliver it. I've learned some amazing stuff off of my guys. Just okay, you do this. Yeah. Matt, for example, and I don't know why I'd never thought of this before, but Matt, for example, will only allow his group lessons to kind of stand next to each other with their skis parallel all the time. To get that habit, when they're progressing between snowplow and parallel. Yeah. So no, you're at this level now. You've got to stand with your skis parallel. It's like, oh. Well, my guys, it's like chaos. It'll just come in.
A bit more
crashing
involved.
into just do whatever you want. I don't care. So and I see little things like that. So, I could use that. Could use that. And you see these things going on all over the mountain if you're receptive to taking them on board.
Yeah.
But okay.
And there is a there's a thread that's going on in the background, and we'll see where it goes. But Paul Garner, BASI trainer, national education team, he's involved in university life, and a couple of years ago he was talking about some of the research that he's done has come up with the concept that we need to have professional knowledge, and that's the bit that BASI does. Mm-hmm. Then we need to have interpersonal skills and intrapersonal skills. So, and those are the bits that are the character traits, if you like. That's how I see it. The ability to be able to really have the skills to have the interpersonal relationships and build that, build a relationship, a rapport with clients. And then that ability to reflect and really examine quite critically what you do as an individual, and then those are the opportunities for growth for people to keep.
The Swiss have that in their manual. It's quite an important part of their thing. They talk about social competencies, professional competencies, and various others, and that was very, very interesting because it sort of outlines what you're looking for. But that client empathy is another quite important one.
Oh, totally.
Because I wonder how many of these sort of fairly young and athletic dudes who are smashing the Eurotest, smashing the Fortec, but they're relatively young. And if you're the CEO of ABC Corp and you're out here in Morzine on holiday and your ski instructor only knows skiing, I wonder how valuable. He might be an amazing skier. Yeah. But he can't relate to you on the chairlift. Yeah. Can't talk to you about what your life's all about. Yeah. And that's a lot of what goes on over on my side, because we get a lot of weekend guys up, expats, clients, whatnot. And you've got to be able to relate to these guys.
Yeah.
You've got to have an element of life experience that isn't just, I skied, I did this, skied some more, I did skiing on the weekend. It's like, whoa, okay.
Yeah, there's got to be a breadth.
My clients'
breadth and depth to the individuals.
Yeah. And that's
totally
why
agree.
I seek that in my guys. I've just taken on a BASI level 1 guy, but his energy, he only knows a limited amount, but his energy and his depth of experience before he came out here and made the change to come and live in this part of the world, it's what carries him along. So he's sort of high in this but low in this, but the experience and the knowledge will come.
Yeah, totally.
But you can't put a price on that kind of empathy and client empathy.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I really wish we had the opportunity to provide that nurturing for instructors as they gain their experience here. That's something, as I keep coming back to, that's something that I really valued in Scotland. And we offer it as much as we can through the professional training program. Whereas we're not just focused on making them better skiers. Yes. We're genuinely wanting to make them better ski instructors, prepare them so that it's deepening their knowledge of all aspects of teaching, communication, as well as the getting better at skiing and being able to pass the technical exams.
I spoke to John,
but it's difficult,
and he thinks, as I do, that there's not enough hours required. But he's probably told you that himself.
And
I agree, because I don't
think... I go back to the halcyon days of skiing in Scotland when one of our buddies was walking up to the coach park, and we were teaching just on the heather just by the coach park in Glenshee. I said to Kenny, I counted, he had sort of 23 people in front of him. I said, Kenny, are they all yours? He said, yeah, and so's the line behind me as well. The group management skills that you learnt in Scotland Having to manage big groups in quite tricky conditions on small patches of snow. It's a skill that I don't think people have the opportunity to find nowadays, to develop nowadays.
My guys are managing 6 or 8. They don't know they're born, do they?
Yeah, well, exactly. and I've spoken to people that have been coming onto the BASI Level 4 teaching exams who say that the only time I've taught sort of a group this big is actually on the teaching exams. All they do is teach private lessons with 1, 2, 3, 4 people. So I think, it's a really difficult one because the industry has changed, and the opportunities to, the days of Cairngorm having 26, 27 ski schools with sort of 30, 40, 50 instructors each, and the volume of skiers that were going up there, that's long gone. So if the instructors are now getting their opportunities to go and teach in the resorts where the clients are just a private client base, then that's where they go and learn their skills.
Yeah, it's true. It's an interesting one. That
I don't know if you can impose it on them. You've got to go and work somewhere. You're going to have enormous groups,
or in something else completely. It's true. You're a little bit limited. I suppose probably one of the things that the way that you're in France, obviously, and the old days where you had to. It's not even old days. It's not even that long ago that you could still have stagiaires. Within your ski schools. I don't think it's possible, and you know better than I do.
Well, that was something we were able to. So one of the things is that the British schools have never been able to have stagiaires. But what we were able to do for 4 or 5 years, we were able to take. So the BASI Level 3s were able to apply for their stagiaire paperwork.
For our listeners in the US and Canada, I'm being optimistic here, but stagiaire means trainee.
Yeah, so they could apply for their status as a trainee in a French registered training establishment. And we've always worked with that philosophy of wanting to collaborate with the local community. So when we set up in Morzine, we shared an office with the International Ski School here. And that meant that we were able to use a relationship with them. So they were employing, the stagiaires were in their ski school, but we were able to use the stagiaires for our clients.
Okay.
And then they were training with us. So that worked really well for a number of years. And we had a number of people that came through the Level 4 through that process and through that journey. It was a shame that stopped, and it's also a shame that the MOU discussions that are going on as far as the European professional card for ski instructors, the conversation was always going to be that as soon as they've sorted out the top level Alpine qualification, they were then going to start looking at the other disciplines and other levels. So there was hope, or maybe I was quite naive in the idea, the thinking that there could be an opportunity for sort of reopening those conversations and see if there were opportunities for British stagiaires to come and work in training centres, British training centres in France. But of course, now that we're leaving the European Union, then we're not going to have the opportunity to see whether that could have been something that
I deliberately haven't written that subject down.
Because we don't need to go into that at all.
We're in Morzine, and there's plenty of people who are, I'd say, probably worrying about that deadline. But it's
interesting times.
Yes, it's exactly that. Yeah. It's interesting times. I hope you're enjoying my chat that I had with Jaz at his beautiful house in Le Biot in France. I thought there's some really interesting stuff about the early days in Scotland, and later on in the discussion we touch on some also quite interesting subjects in connection with Jaz's thoughts on ski schools, qualifications, competition, and the Morzine area in general. So I hope you enjoy the second part of the podcast. I very much enjoyed recording it, and I know that the first few have been quite BASI centric, British Association centric, but actually then interviews that we've got coming up, I've got some interviews with some guys who are qualified through the PSAA system, the American system, and also from the Irish side. I've got 2 or 3 guys who are representing the Irish Association of Ski Instructors, so I think they're going to be super interesting and a slightly different take on everything. So enjoy the second half, and I'll catch you in episode 3. Okay, while we're on the subject then we were on the subject, I'm going to jump back to it, of general education and the wider looking at things. The national education team, and then part of that which goes to Interski. I'm guessing they're one and the same thing.
So some background. Some background with regards to that, because this is the first cycle of the national education team.
Yes. So before it was BASI goes to Interski.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So BASI's had a really sort of deep history of attending Interski Congresses. And again, I really like taking the opportunity to reinforce the value that it's had, and in particular going back to 1995 when BASI sent a delegation to Japan, and the impact that team had at that event has been the launch pad for BASI gaining the recognition that we have, that we benefit from now.
So 95 was the first one?
No, we've going back into the 60s, 70s that BASI has been attending Interskis. But it was everything, the philosophical changes that BASI were going through that era in the early 90s, that were then presented at Interski in 1995. That's when the other Alpine nations in particular started to stand up and take note and say, these people are really good.
And so in 1995, what was say different from 1985? What changed in the philosophy? Apart from the skis around the hero.
Okay, right.
Here we go.
Yeah, we may need a couple of hours for this one. Where do I start? Basically, it was that era when the philosophies changed, and it went from being the old BASI system that I came through the system with, and that's when the new idea of the fundamental elements was introduced, and therefore, and off the back of the fundamental elements, central theme being developed, and a simple way of explaining the significance of that is that BASI went from having a bottom-up system to a top-down system.
Let me give you more on that.
Yeah, this is where I tend to have a bit of paper or a bit of snow that I can draw on.
Yeah.
So if you imagine in the olden days, so as I came through the BASI system, we were taught a progression that started off with introductory activities, straight running, so we used to teach people how to do a straight run.
Okay.
We used to then teach people how to do a snowplane.
Okay.
We then used to teach people how to do a snowplow turn. We then used to...
So far, it's all the same.
No. Bear with me.
Okay.
Because there's a really subtle but significant difference here. We then used to teach people the technique of doing snowplow turns. And what we used to call the basic swing, we used to teach them that technique of the basic swing, which was starting in a plough, finishing with a parallel shape. We used to teach them the technique of parallel turning. And that meant they'd get to that stage of parallel skiing with their technique in place.
Yeah, one way of doing it.
So then as they got to ski more of the mountain, we had to teach them the techniques of compression turns to ski the bumps. had to teach them the techniques of short swings to ski steeper slopes, various step turn techniques to do a variety of stuff. And through the late 80s, 90s, Bob Kinnaird and Jim Bryden, as chair and chief executive of BASI, commissioned an Alpine working group, which Phil Smith was very influential in, to do a review to come up with whatever was going to be next. And what they did is they looked at all high-level skiers. So they looked at all the best skiers in the world, and started to see that the commonality between all the top skiers in all different nations were a couple of... They could see that the common stuff that was going on, that they all managed their bodies, that their skis needed tilting, rotating and pressurizing, and they did that to control speed and line. So they then came up with this idea of the fundamental elements. So body management, steering, and control, and decided that actually what we need to teach people to do is we need to teach people the skills of skiing, which are the fundamental elements. And what we don't want to do is teach them the techniques of a snowplow turn.
Okay.
So, and you could take it into that sort of philosophical argument or some ethereal situation where we're going, the ideal would be that as British instructors, that's what we teach. We teach people the fundamental elements, or we teach people the performance threads. It includes the fundamental elements. So that's what we do when we go out and we teach people to ski. The challenge then came is that's fine if you've got that deep understanding of the fundamental elements, how they all interrelate with each other. But as a novice instructor, as a less experienced instructor, how am I going to take all those fundamental elements and present them in a logical, progressive and natural way? And that's what the central theme ended up being.
Okay.
So the central theme is about, as we're getting into, we'll use sliding to develop balance. We'll use sliding to develop posture, to develop movements. We'll use plough turning to develop rotation, control of rotation. We'll use a plough parallel to develop some pressure control. We'll use parallel to develop edge control. So therefore, people develop the skills. So that was pretty much what was presented at Interski in 1995.
And that's what caused the sort of catapulted the British onto the world stage.
Yeah, and to the extent that when we went to Ushuaia, Interski in Ushuaia in summer 2015, myself and Becky delivered our workshop, which was entitled, one of our workshops, which was entitled From Form-Based to Skill-Based. And again, we presented exactly this stuff again. And at the end of it, there were a number of the nations were saying, my God, that's groundbreaking stuff. To which we were going, no, we've been doing it for 20 years. This is what we presented 20 years ago. So where was I? Yeah, so that's the idea of where all that's come from. Interski has always been a really important part of BASI gaining that world recognition. And because BASI members, in particular now, where BASI members don't have the opportunity to go and teach in Scotland, their work opportunities are around the world, which makes it even more important that we go to Interski and present BASI qualifications in the association as something that other nations should be embracing, and that they should be embracing BASI members to come and work in their schools and their systems. One of the challenges that we came across over the past couple of cycles is that the Interski event is quite a big budget for a team and a delegation to go to an event like that happens once every 4 years. There's a lot of preparation that goes into it. There's a lot of training camps that the team need to do to prepare.
I saw some Facebook noise about that.
Yeah, and
was it $500,000 or something last time?
Yeah, it's not.
I'm sure it's not as simple
it's considerably
as that.
less than that.
Okay.
But the idea was that there was a big budget that's being spent for 4 years. Yeah, it's being spent for one event that happens every 4 years. And there were some BASI members that were challenging the benefit of it, and rightly so. And so there's two things that we've been looking at doing. Is one, making sure that we're being more active in letting BASI members appreciate how important it is for them to be represented at an international event like that. And secondly, we'd be going, right, rather than just having that team being active for a full cycle and doing all the camps and the training and everything like that, just for that one event, let's make sure that we can use that team of people over more events over that cycle.
How is that happening? Because I don't see anything other than a few Facebook videos going on at the moment.
Yeah.
So the nice skiing, but I don't see any like clinics for local members or whatever, that kind of thing.
Good. You will.
Okay.
And those are the things that are starting to come out now. So what had happened after the Ushuaia Interski is that BASI then made quite a conscious decision to use the Interski team as the delivery team at the trainers conference. So that's the first extension of it, if you like, in that it's the national education team that are being selected. They've been selected. They have the opportunity to develop the workshops for Interski, and under Roy Henderson's, the training manager, under his guidance and direction, that's the body of people that have then been tasked to put together all the content for the trainers conference.
Okay.
And then they go and deliver it at the conference.
Okay.
That's now going to start to be rolled out, so that there will be opportunities for members to go and do sessions with national education team members, where they can either find out, right, this is what was delivered at the conference. Once we come back from Pamparovo, we'll be able to go and do those workshops, and this is a chance for members to come and ski with the education team that have been there and say, this is what the Canadians were doing, this is what the Americans were doing, this is what the Argentinians are doing. Yeah, all those sort of things. This is what we presented there. So it's an opportunity for the members to have that contact.
Because it seemed to me that in past Interskis, it looks to me from the outside looking in that it looks a bit like a closed shop. You know, the guys in the past that have seen it, but none of that ever comes out. You get the odd video here and there. There was a fantastic video on YouTube somewhere by a Canadian guy who is analysing all the different styles between the nations. But so if you can give, for the benefit of people who've never been to Interski and probably might not, what does Interski look like? How many days does it run over? What's the format? How does it...
Right,
roughly.
It's incredibly intense. So it tends to be a 5-day format. And each day there will be, I think there's going to be technical demonstrations each morning, and then workshops.
Technical demonstrations as in synchro
as in some synchro stuff on the demo slope. So there will be a number of nations each day. So each nation will have one day that they're delivering their technical demos and their workshops.
Oh, wow.
And off-snow workshops as well. So when we're not delivering, and the way our brief for this year is that we've got 2 technical demos to do, which are quite specific: short radius, long radius, short radius. Technical demo 2 is long radius, short radius, long radius. And that, I think that's going to be a chance for the nations to do much more detailed comparisons. And then we have 2 show runs and a closing ceremony. But outside the day that we're actually delivering, then our team members will be watching the demos and attending the workshops of other nations.
So it's adding to the knowledge base.
Yeah.
And then hopefully they come back, and the idea is they filter it out into the wider membership.
And I think this is, we're getting into a stage where social media and the way that we can present information is much more accessible to people now. So I was part of the Interski team in 2011 in St Anton, and then in 15 in Ushuaia. And as part of coming back from that, we wrote quite, not massively lengthy, but we wrote summaries of the workshops that we attended. That was all collated and published to BASI members. But it's amazing how I don't think I've come across many that have actually read that. So it is that the information was there, but it was in a very inaccessible way. It's in a big document. So making that information more accessible to members, so we can, they can see it in a video.
I'd love to.
So we're looking at we are
looking
at ways that we can make that more accessible through this congress that we're going to.
I think the different national styles of skiing is one of the most fascinating things within skiing.
Yeah.
Is that all these countries have gone down different ways.
Yeah, there is very much a coming back together. The majority are all coming back into, they've gone different ways and gone through different styles and funky stuff. But most of them are converging back. It's quite interesting to see a lot of similarity coming back in.
You think? Yeah. If you weren't in...
The way it's being presented is quite different. Yeah. And the teaching philosophies as far as their teaching progressions are quite interesting. And also the nations that are quite developed in how they're structuring that, rather than just that traditional instructor tells you something, client does it. Okay. Those are the interesting areas. But then so that's the way that the format works, is that there's on snow stuff in the morning, there's the demos in the morning, there's workshops in the afternoon, off snow workshops in the evening. So when the last two Interski Congresses I've been to, it's early mornings and you don't stop. Quite often you're struggling to find a chance to eat anything, because you're finishing from one bit, you're having to get to the workshop, so you're not having a chance to stop and get any lunch. You're finishing that, you're running off the hill, you're getting changed to go into presenting something or going into the evening sessions. And then as soon as we've finished that, we're back to the hotels trying to collate all the information that we've got. So it's
you don't have to sell it to me that you're working hard at. It's okay. I believe you.
It is. I don't think people would appreciate the intensity of work that goes on there, but there's no doubt that it's an amazing experience to be involved in, a really enjoyable, intense period of time. And for this year, I think we're sharing a hotel with the Americans and the Kiwis. So even just being in that, just having a chance to sit over a drink at the end of the day and chat about stuff, it's a great event to be able to go to.
It's interesting. I think looking at these, you see a lot of media on Facebook, whatever, Instagram, whatever. You see a lot of the southern hemisphere, the Australians and the Kiwis, seem to have gravitated towards maybe this Japanese Korean style. There's a lot of cross-undering going on, and I'm very interested to see where that's going to end up, because I think there's more than one way to skin a cat when you're skiing. But it looks to me like that seems to be their style, that they ski around all the time. It's quite hard to do a cross-under all the time everywhere you ski.
Yeah, do you know,
especially when it gets really steep.
Yeah, so yesterday afternoon, I was out. Leslie has been running our Pro 4 training this season. I went along with them for an afternoon yesterday, and there was just jumped into part of the conversation where someone was talking about, that was really different because I started doing a cross under. I was saying, actually, that's quite interesting to hear that, because it's something that BASI went through quite a small window where we were talking about cross-unders, talking quite explicitly about cross-unders and crossovers. that's gone by the wayside again with this idea that we're not wanting to impose any set technical movement pattern. There will be times when we're crossing through with a slightly lower centre of mass. There'll be times that the centre of mass is a little bit higher and it's going through. So
you do whatever
having
you need
having
to do,
some freedom,
right?
That's my take on it. Yeah.
If you had to, it's a whimsical question. Do you if you didn't ski like a British skier, say, or Scottish skier, well, if you could be any other nationality, do you like the way that any other nations ski? When I look at, say, for example, when I see the top French guys, they're really free. They just wave their arms around and do whatever the hell they want, and they still really perform.
Do you know?
And the Swiss are amazing about how they go over the ski so far.
Yeah.
I'm a listener. I'm doing a massive inclination movement with my arm and elbow. They go right over, and then their angulation movement happens right at the last minute, and they look especially free over the top of their skis. The Swiss. Yeah,
again, I think all the Alpine nations, I still admire their skiing. Yeah, the French, the Austrians. I like the Argentinians. So again, it's going to be interesting to go and see this time round, see what everyone's doing.
Yeah, I hope it doesn't become homogenous, because I think that's part of the fun, isn't it, of going around the world and kind of seeing the way that people do things.
Yeah, and I'm so sold on BASI's philosophy, in that we can have technical accuracy without having a technique, without having to apply a specific style to it. So we can have people that are achieving the outcomes that we're wanting really skillfully, but with their own individual morphology that's allowing them to have quite an individual style on it.
Do you think that? I think a lot of the BASI top guys all look the same. But then they probably say that all the top Swiss demo team all looks the same too.
Yeah.
So there's obviously something that comes up through the bottom of.
It's something that for the team that we've got this year. When we're looking at the team, you look at Jimmy Lister skiing, you look at Jai skiing, you look at Amanda skiing, Lynn and Leslie skiing. They're all incredibly talented skiers, but they've got quite an individual style.
Even the younger generation?
Yeah. Again, if you put James Bennett in there as one of the younger skiers that we've got in the team, he's pretty.
There's no one else
skis.
who's like James Bennett. Even the French think that James Bennett skis pretty well. Yeah, that's true.
There is an individualism, and there are a lot of teams that I don't know whether it's deliberate that they're going for that consistency, and almost trying to use the team to illustrate this is what approach, this is what we do. My take is we're about the fundamental elements, we're about skillful skiing. Every member of the team that's going to Interski is an incredibly talented, skillful skier. If they don't all produce exactly the same body shape, then that's not a bad thing.
I say that to my guys all the time, because a lot of us ski similar in my ski school, but actually I was talking to a client about this on Thursday, and she was saying, there was an instructor had told her something like she's a very efficient skier, but she's not a very elegant skier. And I was like, that's a bit okay. I would never say that to a client. Well, one. But secondly, that guy clearly does, whoever that guy or girl clearly doesn't understand that there's the way your body is built dictates what you look like on snow. You can do impressions of people, sure. But the way that your body, efficiently works is the way that your body efficiently works. It's not the same not the same that I work it.
And it's that idea.
I said to her, you're not everyone's going to ski like she was American, so I related it back to that guy. What's his name? Stein Erickson, is it?
Yeah.
The guy in the US, like ski, feet together, arms out wide, just gracefully going down the mountain. So he's built like that. That's just back in the 50s or 60s or whatever. But that's how he's built. So that's how he skis. But you're not going to ski like that. I'm not going to ski like that. I know that I'm not going to make the same movements that James Bennett makes because I'm not built like him.
Yeah, totally.
And I don't know. It's quite an important bit of skiing that a lot of people overlook.
And it's the clients that come along and say, "I'd like to be more stylish." What? What is stylish to one person is not stylish to another person. Yeah. So always try and bring it back to that idea of skillful.
Skillful skiing, right?
It being efficient, effective.
Yeah.
Versatility. Yeah, those are the key ingredients that we want.
While we're on the topic of individual flair, I'll take you back to when we were skiing together maybe 5 years ago on some sort of BASI performance course or something. You were having an experiment with some long poles. I remember looking at you going, crikey, those poles are long. And you said, yeah, they're 130s. I'm really working on this.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. So I'm not because of you, but I use 130s. I'm, what am I? I suppose 6'1". I don't know, I like the way that I like where my hand arrives with long poles. Shorter poles don't do it for me. What were you doing at that point? If you remember?
So I was going. I have been through phases where I've used longer and shorter poles, and I think I tend to be on a 120 now. But I think there was a period there when I went up to a 125, and that was going through. As the plates on the skis just got a little bit higher, then I was you were naturally coming off the snow a little bit more. So I was standing on a higher platform off the ski. So I did go for a slightly longer pole for a while then.
Oh, so it's an equipment issue rather than where your hand arrived kind of issue.
Yeah,
that was. Strikes me as a bit short though.
Do you know? I used to chop my poles down to a 1-2. Used to go to about 1-2-2, and then I found I just settled with a 120. And that's a pole length that I quite like skiing with now. And I think the trade-off is as you start working more laterally, then actually having a longer pole can just. Can get in the way a little bit on that inside hand a little bit. It's nice to play around.
It's top there. Okay, as long as there's any particular thing behind it. I've got 2 more topics left if you're interested.
Absolutely.
One's about Morzine, this beautiful place that you live in. Or not live in, rather. You're on the outskirts of Morzine.
Yeah, so I used to live in the village itself, and then slowly as family life dictates, you move just a little bit further out of the valley.
Morzine itself, it's the butt of the jokes I think around the region. There's only English people here or whatever. It's not, in my experience, not completely true, but it's certainly hard to speak French here sometimes.
It's very anglified,
and there are an awful lot of ski schools here in Morzine, especially in recent years. Is the market that big? Or
no.
Is everyone cutting each other's throats?
I think there's
for business.
I think there's a lot of that. I think there's a lot of scrabbling around for trade. I think no matter how many instructors were here through that February half-term period, everyone would be full. But through the trying to sustain a volume of work for people through the whole of the season, I think it is getting to that stage that we've reached market capacity, and I've felt that for a couple of years. And
because what we've seen, I think, in Morzine, isn't it, that there's been a few guys that have worked for you. I know a whole bunch of instructors who have been working over on the Swiss side that I used to see regularly have now qualified.
Yeah.
And they're immediately over here, and I'd say the more enterprising ones immediately set up shop.
Yeah.
Because I guess they feel that there's enough work here.
Yeah, I don't know why. There's I'm sure if you looked around, there's loads of resorts where there's a market that's ripe for development.
I've always been confused as to why everyone comes to certain centres. There seems to be an awful lot of ski schools in British or Anglophone ski schools in the Three Valleys.
Yeah.
Like Maribor, and various places like that. Here is one of those big places. I guess Val d'Isère is the other.
Yeah. I guess those are the three centres.
I mean, there's other places there must be other places that British people go to in France that are ripe for development.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I would have
come
thought
up
so.
to a place with already 20 or 15, 20 ski schools and then just plonk another flag in the ground.
Yeah. It is. It's getting harder, and for many years, as I noticed, or as that started to happen, then it is the case that competition isn't necessarily a bad thing, in that it means, or it has meant that we've had to be really clear about what we're about and making sure that we're able to continue to differentiate ourselves from others. And that's something that we've been able to do fairly consistently for the last 19, 20 years since we've been here. What I see now is quite there's quite a change from when we first set up, and it's almost like the pendulum's sort of swung back in reverse. In that when we set up, there was the ESF, the International Ski School, ourselves as a British ski school in Morzine. There's probably one or two British independents working. There was Ian McKellar running up in Voriaz, but on our side of the mountain, it was pretty much the three of us. So it was really quite. It wasn't difficult for us to set up with that idea of we want to be really high quality, and in order to deliver the best value, best quality service to British clients, then we need to have instructors that genuinely have a deep understanding of skiing, communication and teaching, but have got the language skills to be able to do that. What then happened, is quite a compliment to us, is the ESF then they took some of their best English speaking instructors and set up the snow school in our image.
Oh, really?
And they sort of recognised that
that's
that
quite
British
innovative,
market.
isn't it?
Yeah. It was brilliant.
Wow.
And they're very successful as well. And we've spent so long trying to, continuing to deliver that. And what we see now is a lot of the schools that are setting up now don't seem to have the same integrity that I've always felt that we should have. So they're employing people that don't have the depth of language skills to really genuinely communicate with clients on a level that is necessary when we're actually talking about teaching development. Learning anything, teaching anything is so deeply reliant upon clear communication.
Sure.
That if there's a breakdown in language barriers there, then there's a breakdown in how effective that teaching can be. And also schools that are employing people that have got very different technical philosophies. So you'll see instructors in the same uniforms delivering totally opposing technical content. And that's where for me, the way that we need to move forwards as our organisation is make sure that we can have that strength of of continuing to be bettering ourselves as far as how we teach, how we communicate, how we relate with clients, and not just behave as a traditional ski instructor.
So that means that you have then a set, for want of a better word, method. You have a clear philosophy in your school of how you will teach skiing that runs through all of your instructors, presumably because they're all ex or current BASI trainers, right?
and it comes back to that. They're not all trainers. I think 5 out of the 7 are trainers that we've got. But we all share the same individual values, if you like, of really listening to the clients and delivering what the clients want. So that idea of being genuinely learner-led is an important part of where we're going. As I say, that's a challenging place for us to be. But it's something that between our team we're having more regular, more official, or not official, more planned opportunities for us to get together and talk about how we're working and how we're teaching and learn off each other, and almost evolve those philosophies together.
It's tough, that, isn't it? It's tough to get your whole team together on certain days. We've only got 4 in the season.
Do you know, it was really again, I think we're doing the same, and even in August when I was planning this, I looked through the planner, and there wasn't a day then when every instructer was available for the same afternoon, and the only way that I could make it happen was by rejuggling some of the bookings that we had to switch it from the afternoon into some mornings. So, but it's really important for us to be able to do that and actually have the time together to be able to.
It's tremendously valuable to ski together as a team, swap ideas as a team, talk, change.
And again, exchange ideas. I think it's something that I hear more and more about from clients, and in fact, some of Becky's clients were having the conversation with her about that idea of integrity to philosophies, and what are our philosophies, because it's really obvious that there's some common string that's holding us all together. So it's interesting that clients recognise that.
Yeah. With this concept of language and not being able to express your ideas properly in a foreign language, which is true. It's not easy. Really not easy. That. But so what I think probably what we're both trying to say is that the process of becoming a qualified ski instructor in France is so difficult, but also fiddly and complex. Is whether you go through the British system, whether you transfer over from somewhere else, the paperwork involved in doing anything in France, as you know, is difficult. Totally. I'm not sure where a lot of these other guys are coming from. I know there's a lot of Italians kicking around, for example, in our region at the moment who are coming in almost as they're coming in through almost like a nursing agency, but there's like an agency for ski instructors. Yeah. You pay them X amount an hour, and they supply you some dude from Trentino or something. Yeah,
there is a growth of non-British instructors working for the schools that are wanting to market themselves as British ski schools. And that's something that in principle I don't have any issues with at all. In that over the years we've had a couple of people that have worked for us that aren't British instructors. And to the extent that we've also had people that have worked for us that aren't BASI instructors. But what we've been really, really clear about is that their language skills are so good that they and not just the language skills, there's a cultural understanding. I think that's what comes to the crux of it, is that we've had people that that understand the language and are so good with the language that they understand the culture that they can really relate and connect with clients at any level. They understand the nuances, they understand the jokes, they understand all those cultural references, and they've got those language skills to that depth that then what nationality they are isn't an issue. Then the other thing that I believe is critically important is that there is a common technical philosophy that runs through a group of instructors that are working together. For us, we've all come through the BASI system, so we've got that as a shared foundation of what we're all about. But again, we've employed people from the Austrian system, for example, but we've done that knowing that they've got such a depth of understanding that they share the same philosophies that we've got. They've got a knowledge of BASI and what we talk about, so there isn't any conflict. So we could have a client going out with one of our instructors one day and one of these people the next day, and there is no compromise. Whereas for my standards, I could probably list and name the people that I believe could come and do that. And what I see on the hill, it almost goes back to the days of when we first came here, of the local French instructors speaking pretty decent English, conversational level English to clients, and teaching them to ski in a fairly in a way that is quite different to the values, that technical values that we've had.
Okay, to go back to the original point, the reason that there is this, what do you call it, like a booking agency, the reason there's kind of Italian dudes and people from Austria and stuff here, is that there is a bottleneck, right? That you can't find enough instructors here. That seems to be the issue to me on the French side, is that everyone's struggling to find people. I mean, isn't that why most schools are running like a level 4 training program? Because they hope that one of those guys will make it, and then they'll come back and work for them or something. Yeah,
definitely.
I mean,
I think there's also a cultural thing, is that people will want to. So what we see here is a number of level 4s that get qualified and go and set up as independents or set up themselves. And again, I don't know if that's a generational thing that, again, coming back to my heritage and what's helped me become the instructor that I've been able to become is having that network of people around me that I can learn from. And that's something that I value, that I'm not necessarily sure that all instructors, as they're coming through the system, value to the same extent, that actually being able to surround yourself with a depth of experience.
You think that maybe when they get there they think, right, cool, I know it, and then I'm just going to go off and do my own thing. You don't think that they're serving that I'm not trying to put words in my mouth.
Sure.
Maybe they're not serving the apprenticeship necessarily. Because the way that the system is set up, right? You think you do your level 4 in your Eurotest, and you think, oh, cool, done. I literally know everything.
It's not just an apprenticeship. I'm still if it was the apprenticeship, I'm still doing it. And it's that once you get qualified, in order, this is very, very much a personal thing. Is for me to have the enthusiasm to keep going out teaching skiing every season. I've got to be moving forwards. And if I was teaching the same stuff as I was teaching 34 years ago in the same way that I was teaching it, I'd be very stale and probably quite bored of the industry by now. But I'm still here, enthused and motivated, because I'm doing new stuff and I'm still challenging myself. The catalyst for me, being able to do that is the people that we've got in our team and other sources. Naturally, being in the training body has been a massive source of inspiration for me. And hopefully that's something that I've been able to bring back into our team so we can all share from that. And for me, that's where the idea of actually working in a pool of instructors is so valuable. That's what's going to keep us as individuals moving forward, keeping us engaged in the industry, keeping the passion alive for going and working with clients and doing everything that we do. If I was out as an individual, I wouldn't be. I don't think I would have got to half of where the things that I've been able to do in teaching.
It's going to be interesting. I know we said we weren't going to talk about Brexit, but the March the 29th thing is going to be very interesting because I already see that there are some fully qualified guys that could be working in France, who are over in Verbier, Zermatt probably, God knows where else, Villars, wherever. They're all earning decent money over there too.
I think that's been a big change. Yeah.
And actually, I don't think I've never. And actually, this is. I'm sure we talked about this once upon a time because my direction changed at some point.
Yeah.
So I'm more Swiss focused now than I ever was France focused. And there came a point when we talked about this in Valdez. I'm sure we did.
We did.
Where France wasn't the goal for me anymore,
Yeah.
and the British system looks a little bit like me. Not at the lower levels, I grant you, but at the top level, it looks a little bit France focused for me. And I don't think France is necessarily the land of milk and honey that it once was.
No,
when you compare to what some of these guys are doing over on Swiss side in some of these big resorts.
I would totally agree, and that's a conversation that I've had with a few people recently, and it's why do people choose to go and get their level 4? And I think a lot of people will choose to do it to achieve that stamp so they can go and work in France. For me, when I came through the system, it wasn't going to give me anything else other than I had. It was very much a personal journey. This is about, right, I'm going to go through the system. There weren't the opportunities to go and work in France once you had that qualification then. So that's something that came after. The desire to go and work through the system was very, very much an intrinsic desire to continue to get better and learn as much as I can.
So same as my Swiss journey. That's why I went to go and sit the full brevet. It was just, I want to be able to look the guys in the eye on the mountain with the same badge as me and say, hey, I went and sat that thing. It wasn't easy.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah, and it is. It then comes back to that's the journey, is continually striving to get better. There are some instructors that will do that, and there's others that don't, that will have the badge and turn up to work and take the money and go home.
I suppose it depends what motivates you, and not everyone is driven in the same way.
Totally.
All right. I'm going to knock it on the head there. We've been chatting for a long time. Where can people find out more about you and what you do? I want to give everyone the opportunity to promote themselves. Not that you need any more promotion. I think everyone knows you, but...
So if anybody wants to contact me about anything in particular, email Jaz, Jaz, at britishskischool.com. I'm based in Morzine with the British Alpine Ski School. I'm still involved with BASI and the training body and the national education team.
Fantastic. Jaz, thank you for welcoming to your house.
Dave, it's been a pleasure.
It's lovely to chat to you always.
It's lovely to have the opportunity to talk about something I'm so passionate about. So thank you.
Thank you very much.